Good evening, everybody. This is Dirk from the PrimeXBT Trading Academy with our new live episode of that crypto show, where we want to talk today about a topic that is not only very dear to my heart and very close to my heart, but also probably, well, at least in the top 3 of the questions that I got most asked throughout my trading career. I mean, which has been already 24 years as of today. I want to try to answer the question of, Dirk, is it possible to also be successful as a part-time trader? And I think this is very important for anybody out there watching, that most of you guys probably have a full-time job to attend to. You have to work 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, maybe even more hours per day. Maybe you have a family at home that you want to and like to attend to also at night and in the mornings. And the day has 24 hours, and if 12 or 13 or 14 of those hours are already occupied with other stuff that you have to do, the question, I think, is very legitimate to ask if it's really possible to also be successful just doing part-time trading. And luckily, the short answer to that question, in my opinion and from my experience, is yes. But there, of course, the devil is in the details, as always. And what I want to do today is I want to show you a way how to approach the market that is not going to eat up much of your time. So we're going to talk actually today about a number of things. To be precise, we want to talk today about 6 different topics. We want to understand, it's actually 5 different topics, sorry. I don't know why I wrote 6 here. We want to understand about how the markets are moving. We want to understand the importance of support and resistance. We want to understand what risk-reward ratio is. And by the way, if we after we've talked about those 3 items, we are able to define a trading strategy already that is very well. It's very easy, actually, after a while for you guys to do part-time, and it won't eat up more than maybe 20 to 30 minutes of your daily time. So probably something, if you love trading half as much as I do, something you will be able to do also. We're going to talk about setting realistic goals, about defining your time budget, that would have been number 5 here on that list, and about the importance of being patient. So let's jump right into it. We are, of course, live, so you will also have the opportunity to ask questions here. Why don't I cannot show the chat overlay? Okay, doesn't matter. If there are any questions, I will be able to show them. If we still have a little bit of time left by the end of this live stream, I'm more than happy to answer your questions. By the way, we are also now on Discord. We have a PrimeXBT Discord server, which looks a little bit like this. We have an Academy chat there as well. You'll find in the description of this video, if you're watching on YouTube, a link to the Discord channel, amongst other links that I encourage you to also have a look at. I'm hanging around there most of the day, sharing my thoughts about the markets, also publishing some trading ideas, commenting on stuff. And you, of course, are more than welcome to also hang around with me and of course in the other chats as well, to have some fun and chat about our favorite topic, trading. Good. Let's start with point number 1, which is understand how markets move. Let me just move my screen here a little bit. Here we go. And this is something really, really fundamental. The first thing you have to understand before you can even think about building a trading strategy is not which indicator am I going to use. You first want to understand how are markets moving and why are they moving in the way they are moving. And in general, markets can move in 3 different ways. They can be uptrending, like I've indicated here on the left. They can be in a downtrend or downtrending, or they can be sideways trending. This, by the way, is a Bitcoin chart. And this sounds, very mundane and almost maybe a little bit too silly to talk about, but you won't believe how many people haven't nailed that down and understood the importance of it. If we don't have a lot of time budget, we need to use that little time budget we have as part-time traders as effectively as possible. And by that, we need to take everything, every straw that makes our life a little bit easier. So before you even think about entering a trade, and by the way, you can do this for any market out there. This is not just true for cryptocurrencies. It doesn't matter what you are trading, and it also doesn't matter what time frame you want to trade on. I've chosen a daily chart here for a reason. I'll tell you about this later also. And because if markets are in an uptrend, we should follow the rule that we are only searching for long entries. If the market is in a downtrend, we should only search for short entries to speculate on falling prices. If the market is in a sideways trending market, we can actually do both. We can do long trades and short trades. Why do we do this? Because we want to make our life easier by the end of the day. We don't want to position ourselves against the majority of a market. And by doing so, we are trading with a trend. You maybe know this saying, the trend is your friend. This is very, very true. So really, the first thing you want to do if you open a chart for the very first time, just sit down, zoom a little bit out, and determine what trend is the market currently in. Is it an uptrend? Is it a downtrend? Or is it a sideways trend? If you see it's an uptrend, well, maybe you start looking for possible areas where you could go long in the market, where you could buy the asset. Do this and incorporate this, and this is something you need to brief. I need to be able to wake you up at 2 a.m. at night and ask you, hey, what's the current trend in Bitcoin? And you need to be able to answer this. These are the fundamentals. If you don't have that nailed down, it's a little bit like you're trying to read a book without with just knowing the letter A, B, C, and D. It doesn't make any sense. So you want to do this as for the beginning. Second step you want to do then is that you want to define. So we are now here at the second one. You want to understand the importance of support and resistance. And where's my chart here? Here we go. Now, support and resistance are basically just areas where either the market has difficulties going below, as for example indicated by this green line down here, or has difficulties going up. I've chosen now the latest trend in Bitcoin that we had, which was a sideways trend. And as you can see, this sideways trend was defined by a lower band, which roughly was at 37,000 US dollars, and an upper band, which roughly was at 44,500 US dollars. And also, you can really go through the whole of a chart from up to down, draw those parallel lines. You'll see very often you'll find that those areas of support and resistance happen to be at round numbers. Markets are attracted to round numbers. So on the way up here in Bitcoin, for example, 50,000 would be such a round number where the market would be attracted to and probably would have difficulties moving above that if we are coming from below, which we are at the moment. And very often, those areas of support and resistance in a sideways market are pretty easy to determine because usually it's the upper and lower band of a sideways market. It's a bit more difficult in downtrending or uptrending markets. As a rule of thumb, if you are, for example, have identified the market as a downtrend, you might want to see, this upper line trending down as your upper resistance, the line trending down as your lower resistance. Nonetheless, of course, you can also work with parallel lines here. But let's stick for the sideways trend at the moment. And, Bitcoin was coming down here. And of course, and when the sideways trend is first establishing, we do not know yet that it is a sideways trend. We are still assuming Bitcoin is in a downtrend. We are here right now, for example. We still don't know, the next couple of weeks and months are going to be sideways trends in Bitcoin. We are still assuming it's a downtrend. So what is going to happen? We have to really wait here until we know we are in a sideways trend. And we knew this here when the market went up here for the first time, went down, went up again, then down again. So this part here, let me mark this quickly for you. this happened before, this zone happened before, then the market went up here again. Then, we were pretty sure that we were in a sideways trend. Now we know, okay, we're in a sideways trend. We can trade in both directions. We can trade in long positions, and we can trade short positions. And usually the easiest thing to do that in sideways trends is that you want to sell at the upper line of resistance and that you want to buy at the lower lines of resistance. This is, by the way, what I have been doing in Bitcoin since the beginning of the year, pretty much. And so after we know now we are in a sideways trend, we would have shorted here the market. We would have bought here the market. We would have shorted here the market. If we are lucky, we got an entry on this one as well. Let's say we did. Because we didn't place our limit order directly at the line of support or resistance, we would have entered here the market. And you can see really how well that works. That's like 1, 2, 3, 4 trades in a row that were already successful with no fancy indicators, just with determining in what state is the market currently in, uptrend, downtrend, or sideways trend, and playing this game of support and resistance, which is the easiest in sideways trends. Now, as you can see, this chart is stopping here on the 25th of March, because I also want to show you now here what happens when markets break out of trends. And this is exactly what we have seen just now in Bitcoin. Don't worry about these rectangles here, which say on-chain resistance, on-chain support. I'm going to tell you about this later on. Now, what happened here, I'm going to replay this now, is eventually we saw a huge breakout in Bitcoin to the upside. So that was this candle here on the 27th of March, where Bitcoin finally decided to break out of this sideways range. If you see something like this happen, you usually have two options. You could jump into the market, for example, with a stop buy order in this case. However, from my experience, this is not always the best idea to do that, because it is what markets usually will do is, once they break out of a trend, so the market is here trying to establish an upwards trend again, because it broke out to the upside of a sideways range. So it's trying to establish a new uptrend. And what you'll very often see is that the market pulls out. So this line that was formerly a resistance now is becoming a support. I'm going to mark it green here because of that. And then the market will pull back to test this new area of support. And this is also where we want to linger around then and maybe try to enter trade. When we see the market going down, so what we would do in this case, we would place a limit order here at around about 45,500 US dollars. Don't place it like directly on this line of support, have it maybe like give it a little bit of leeway, maybe something like 50 US dollars higher. This is at least what I did in this case. And now there's a nice tool here on TradingView. By the way, you find a link also to TradingView in the description of this video, where you can also follow me. I'm not so active there, but sometimes I post stuff like this there as well. So you can determine if this long position there is a long position that is worth taking for you. And this leads us really here to our third point on our agenda for today: understanding your risk-reward ratio. Risk-reward ratio means how much are you willing to risk in order to get a certain reward? How much are you willing to risk in order to earn the amount X? Now, we need to predefine here what makes sense for our long position. And what I did in this case, and this is where those red rectangle came in as well, is I said I would like to buy here at around about 44,550. And I think when the market moves up, it probably will have difficulties in this red rectangle here, which is an area of resistance from on-chain metrics. So I would like to exit the market below that already, And I'm willing, I think if we go down below this line of support now again, that I should exit the market rather quickly. So I placed a limit order entering at 44,550. I said I'm going to exit the market at 46,500, and I set a stop loss 1,000 US dollars below my entry. So it looks like this. And I'm showing you this tool now because we want to only enter a trade if it is mathematically speaking in our favor. And this is calculated by the so-called risk-reward ratio. You can see this here. Maybe let me zoom in a little bit here for you. You can see this here. This trade had a risk-reward ratio of 1.95. Now, what does that mean? And for that, we can use a risk-reward ratio calculator. So if I'm, for example, risk $1 and I'm able to gain 1.95 US dollars. So you see here, risk reward ratio 1.95. We press on calculate. We see we have a break-even win rate of 33.9%. And that means, ladies and gentlemen, that with this kind of setup and risk reward ratio, I only need to be correct 33.9% of all the time in order to not lose money. And this is exactly the trade I want to take because my probability long-term is better than a coin flip, which would be 50-50. What I see very often with beginners is that they are willing to, for example, risk $1,000 to earn $50 or something like this. This will always destroy your account long-term. Now, if we replay here, what happened after this is the market really came down again. So it started topping out here in this area. And then it slowly became reversing. And as you can see here on that day, that was the 1st of April, not an April joke though in this case, my order was filled here at 44,550 US dollars per Bitcoin. And then the market came down, tested this area, and the market went up the next days again, very quickly hit here my profit target. So super good trade. If I only need to be correct with round about 1 in 3 trades with this type of risk reward ratio to not lose money. And this should always be your first goal long term or midterm, to come to a state where you're not losing money. So look for those profitable risk reward ratios. Our learning here, if you identify the market is breaking out to either the upside, same can happen of course to the downside, don't FOMO in, yeah? Just because you see such a strong green candle, usually what you will see is sooner or later the market will reverse to try to test this newfound support it just broke out to. Of course, that does not work every time. That's why we need to be sure that our risk-reward ratio is in our favor. And I highly recommend you guys there to at least have a risk-reward ratio of 1.5. So that you just need to be correct 40% of the time in order to not lose money. You might be asking what like pro traders have as a risk reward ratio. Usually pro traders are also not higher in their success rate than about 50 to 54%. So whenever you see something out there, advertisement like, oh, I have this trading system here, which is correct 95% of the time or 100% of the time, I guarantee you it's a scam. It's just not possible. Nobody out there does that. We are going to later on talk about like realistic expectations that you can have. Let's have a look now at the second trade that goes into the same direction, which was in Luna. And I talked about Luna a couple of, I think it was last week, on a video when the news came out that Terra or Luna wants to buy $3 billion US dollars in Bitcoin to use it as collateral, as the foundation for the stablecoin Terra. And I said, hey, this is actually very bullish news, but I don't want to FOMO in on those news. I also worked here with support and resistance. So at that time, this was still an area of resistance. And I said, I think we must have been somewhere down here in the 90s still. I said, okay, if I see, because 100 is like a massive resistance, if I see Luna going above 100 US dollars, I would be willing to buy Luna at around about 100 US dollars. And you can see the picture is really the same like we saw just now in Bitcoin again. The market went strongly up, all the way up to almost 110 US dollars. And then Luna came down again to test this support. Now it's not a resistance anymore, of course. This one here. So where is it? Here, this one needs to be green again. It's an area of support to test this this support. So this is where I planned on lingering around with an order to buy Luna at around about 100.50. And I said I wanted to do that because I actually forgot to send the order, so I was not executed. So things like this happen also. But again, if that happens to you, don't just, cry or be angry at yourself. Things like this will happen. For this trade, I would have chosen a stop loss somewhere in this area here of between 93 and 94 US dollars. And I would have had a target at around about 112. And you can see risk reward ratio of 1.75. So well above the minimum of 1.5. Super trade also would have earned just a day after the order would have executed. We would have reached our take profit here, again earning a decent amount of money with a great risk reward ratio. So if you have nailed something like this down, and you can really see here on Bitcoin how well that does, and you only risked 2% every time and have a risk reward ratio of 1.75. So that would mean in this case, if you risk 2%, and you would earn 3.5% on every trade. You would have earned 3.5% here on this one, here, so that's 7, 10.5, 14%. You would have lost 2% on this one, brings you back to 12%. Here, 3.5, again, 15.5%. Now, if the market goes down again and you're again lingering around here to enter it and it goes below that, oh well, then you have to deduct another 12%. So with just this simple play of support and resistance and being patient and waiting for the market really to reach those areas of support and resistance from the beginning of a year, just in Bitcoin, you could have earned already around about 15%. Now you might ask, of course, something like, hey, Dirk, you know what, 15%, this is not really a lot of money. I want to earn 100% per week. I want to be a millionaire next month, so to say. And this is really what I mean here by setting in the next point, setting realistic goals. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, sorry, before we continue, let me quickly talk about this here. So the rectangles you see here on my chart where I wrote here on-chain support, on-chain resistance. This is an additional thing you can do with most cryptocurrencies, at least where the data is available, something you do not have in so-called legacy assets. So if you're trading, for example, Forex or the S&P 500 or gold or copper or whatever, or bonds, you don't have this data because the ledger protocol of Bitcoin is an open ledger. You can always see at which prices were which coins last moved. And there's a company out there, a couple of companies. The most famous one is called Glassnode, who gives you all of this data. You can then use their tools to analyze their data. You can do this yourself. However, the price tag on this one is a bit high. So if you want all the features, which you probably would need, you end up paying $800 per month. So might be a little bit high. But what they also have once a week, they have something coming out called Insights, where they do a lot of those analyzing and tell you like, okay, this is what we deduct currently from our on-chain data. And there's something I like to look at, which is called URPD, where you can see like where coins that were held for a longer time were last transacted. Now, the last data I have here is from the 27th of February, and wherever you see this graph going up, there's like an area of support or resistance. So if it's below the current Bitcoin price, it's obviously an area of support, which would be at the moment this large area here between 40,500 and 33,000 US dollars. On the way up, this area of resistance begins here at around about 47,000 US dollars. And this was also the reason why when I entered this trade here said, I want to exit the trade if possible below this red rectangle, because from on-chain data, I can see there is an area of resistance there. And you can see in the way the Bitcoin behaved here. So you have all those rather long wicks to the upside here on those candles, that Bitcoin started stalling there actually. And this is because a lot of people maybe bought Bitcoin at those prices. Now the prices are almost back there, so they start selling again because they, want to get out of a position and maybe are happy that they can get out break even or something like this. So this is something you can also apply, at least for Bitcoin, and I think for Ethereum it's also possible. Really gives you an additional layer. However, I highly suggest in the beginning just start with those trends and start with support and resistance. This will already give you, if you've nailed this down and really incorporated this, actually, it's very hard to not be successful, in my opinion, long term. Okay, before we continue, a little word here on if you are not yet a member of the Trading Academy or a client of PrimeXBT.com, you can use this promo code now, which you'll also find in the description of the video, to open an account, which of course is totally free. Use this promo code called The Room, and you can use this one if you go to your margin trading account, click on account here on the left, and then enter it here. You'll get a deduction of 50% on trading fees, which is really, really great. I mean, the trading fees on PrimeXBT are already very, very low. Another 50% of that, of course, leaves more money in your pocket. So do that now. Also, if you like what you're seeing here, I would appreciate it very much if you leave us a like and maybe subscribe to our channel. If you want to get in touch with us, you can also do so on Discord. I just showed you that. And you can also do that on by email, the classic way, academy@primexbt.com. All your questions always will be answered by either my team, or if you are a client of PrimeXBT, you signed up over the Trading Academy link, I'm personally going to answer your questions. All righty, good. So let's talk about realistic expectation. Before that, quite a lot going on there. So at the end, I'll have a look at what you guys were writing then and see if there are any questions. Realistic expectation. Now, I know most of you guys probably either have seen something like this on the internet. Maybe you were kind of thinking about this thought like, oh, I'm becoming a trader, I'm going to be a millionaire 2 weeks down the road. I just need to find the holy grail indicator that is always right, that shows me exactly where the top and bottom of the market is. There is no holy grail in trading. I can promise you this. Trading or the financial markets are very, very complex. And for a reason, professional traders and especially hedge funds, investment banks spend a lot of money to find the best trading talent out there, or spend hundreds of millions of US dollars every year, for example, to have the best IT equipment to analyze the markets. And you always have to keep in the back of your head, these are the guys you are playing against. These are especially the guys you are playing against if you want to day trade. So if this thing is new to you, I highly advise you start with something like daily charts. It's really going to save you a lot of headache, and it's going to not eat up so much of your time. And for realistic targets in terms of what profit should I aim for, I mean, let's have a look at what the professional guys out there are making. And I'm talking here about hedge funds, I'm talking about investment funds, banks, and so on and so forth. And I have some interesting data here, in my opinion, from 2020. Don't have yet the data, sadly, from 2021 there, which shows different strategies funds were aiming at. So event-driven, macro, long, short equity. So the best strategy on average in 2020 was something called origination and financing, with an average yearly performance of 19.36%. So 19.36%, if you, with this strategy, as a hedge fund manager or fund manager, were able to do that, you would have been in the median, in the middle of the Gaussian bell curve. And 19.36% divided by 12 is, so on average, you would have made for your clients 1.61% per month. So this is what you need to compare yourself against. Now, of course, those funds normally have more money under the belt than we as private trader have, with potentially hundreds of millions and billions. So, of course, it gives them also, it's not as easy to trade a lot of money as it is to trade little money, because your positions are going to move the market, actually. If I enter the market with a position of 100 or 500,000, it's not going to move the market. And this is the best strategy. So on average, which gave 1.61%. So if you think now again about your goal maybe of making 100 or 300 or 500% per month or per week even, it's kind of unrealistic. And of course, the underlying question here always is then also, but I only have $1,000 or only have $10,000. If I only make, like, let's say 2% per month with that, I'm not going to get rich off that. Absolutely true. In order to be able to sustain a somewhat healthy way of living, you need probably something like $200,000 or $300,000 of your own capital, if you're consistently making those 2% per month, to live off that, and maybe to even also be able to save some of the money to further build up your capital. If you're below that, things will become different. Of course, it also depends on where you're living in the world. If you're living downtown LA or in Silicon Valley, 10,000 a month is not going to get you anywhere. If you are living somewhere more rural, you probably can live like a king of something like this. So the way, what needs to be, in my opinion, this is also the way, by the way, I went first, is what you need to do is you need to build up a track record. You want to sit down and trade for a year or two, record all those trades, and show that you are able to earn money on a consistent basis, that you are able to have something like 1.5, 2, 3, or maybe even 5% on average performance per month. And then you need to go out and present this to potential investors. And there are a lot of people out there looking for talented traders like this, that are able, to have a consistent performance with good risk metrics. And this is also the reason why I said, please bear in mind, only take those trades where the risk-reward ratio is in your favor. This is exactly what investors will look at. The good thing is, now, if you are trading with PrimeXBT, you can really combine those things. You can trade, and you can also already start building up your line of investors by using this copy trading module here. Co-vesting. We have a video guide on how to use that, what you can do with this. Basically, you can trade there, then you have people that are able to follow you, and with every trade you win, you'll get a 20% share, profit share from them. And if you are very successful there, and maybe you have a couple of $100,000 in US dollars following you, you can earn quite substantial money with that, and you can build up your track record. If you then one day maybe want to go out there to the banks or investors with really deep pockets that might be able to give you something north of $1 million. So if you don't have like this amount of 200 or 300,000 US dollars in your own pocket, and by the way, are willing to risk this for trading as well, you really need to go the so-called hard way, but very rewarding way, of slowly building up a track record over 1 or 2 years, which you are then able to show to somebody out there with a lot of money. And if you don't know people like this, by the way, you can approach me as well. I'm very happy to help you on this, because this means you are amongst those top traders in the world already. not that difficult if you, for example, start just working with support and resistance. So last point here is be patient. And be patient means you have to wait really for the correct signals. So if we are going back here to our Bitcoin chart and the sideways trends, you can see here we had one possibly entry on the 15th and 16th of February. Then we had to wait a couple of days again until the market went down, a couple of days again. So sometimes you'll spend days and weeks without any good signal really out there that allows you to enter the market. Maybe you see the market is approaching the upper band of the sideways trend. You think like, well, okay, I could place a short trade there, but if you go into the details and you see, the risk-reward ratio on this one is not very good in my favor. Well, then don't take the trade. Wait. The good thing is there's, of course, not only Bitcoin out there, so nobody, of course, is keeping you from applying a strategy like this, not only for one chart or for one asset, but you can do so, of course, for as many assets as you want. And the more trading signals, of course, you will also get then. However, you have to adjust this to your time budget. And for one asset, maybe like this, in the beginning, it will take you maybe half hour, maybe 1 hour, to get like everything drawn, to see really with a little bit of certainty, what is the trend at the moment, where are the lines of support and resistance, where could I place my order now, is this a favorable risk-reward ratio for me, what does the on-chain data say from Glassnode. So it will take some time to get into this, but once you have nailed this down and hey, these are the areas currently of support and resistance, and like, okay, if we go up to this level of resistance, there I want to short the mark, or I want to wait for the breakout and then for the market to come back, like it did here, like Dirk showed me in this video, on his live stream. It will probably just take you 5 minutes per chart. This is all it needs. So if you're doing this for 5 charts, you'll spend 25 minutes every day. If you see orders well, then you can enter your limit orders already. Like I did here, for example, you see this on the bottom left also, where I entered my orders already, where points in the market are where I want to buy or sell at the moment, in this case in Bitcoin and Luna. And well, then you can close your laptop. You can shut off your desktop PC, you can go to work, you can attend to your family, do whatever you need to do. And in the evening, when you come home, you'll see if your orders were executed. Of course, you need to also define immediately a stop loss and take profit. And this, by the way, gives you, makes you stronger probably than putting yourself in a position where you are all day looking at charts that surround you. If maybe I take a picture of my office here later for you and post it, you would see I have like 6 monitors surrounding me, where I have dozens of charts. This not necessarily always needs to be an advantage. Maybe it's for me, but always remember I've done this for 20 plus years already. For you in the beginning, try to keep it simple. And you will see over the course of the next weeks and months how just working with those trend channels with areas of support and resistance will give you confidence in what you are doing. So be patient, wait for the entries. Always remember, trading is a business. It's not a gamble. It can be a gamble, but it should not be if you are aiming on really, really earning money with this one day, whether it's your own money that you are trading, or you want to be something like an independent fund manager trading the money of other people. A lot of ways you can go there, obviously. All right, good. That was it from me. Let's see if we have some questions first here. Let me quickly scan through here. Yeah, we have a giveaway. I think some of you are doing update iOS, and that's a good point here. Really, thank you for this one. Talking about the iOS app. As far as I know, have they integrated? I'm not sure completely about this right now. The co-vesting module, for example, I think is integrated now into the app as well. So you want, as a beginner, if you want to concentrate on daily charts, I advise you to refrain from, maybe if you're on lunch break, opening your app and try to scalp on 1 or 5 minute charts. Really, this is like like you want to drive a Formula One car without even having your driver's license and being able to drive the Volkswagen Golf or whatever. And so refrain from this, refrain this temptation. You can always start doing this later on when you have become successful on those daily charts, on those 4-hour candles maybe, or something like this. And the giveaway will be done randomly, of course. So everybody that has entered the giveaway, we will randomly select somebody from this, and then our team will contact you by email, which will probably be done. I think, how long was the giveaway running? I think it ends today or tomorrow, or has ended already. So you will definitely be contacted by email if you have won them. Don't worry. And maybe then in the future, if this is the foundation for your success, we can have you as a guest on that crypto show where you tell about your journey of trading. All right, good. That concludes this week's live stream. And as always, I planned on doing this half hour. I've exceeded the time limit, 42 minutes already. But this is how it is. If you love, what you're doing, if you love talking about trading and trading in general. Again, in the links, in the description of this video, you'll find a lot of links for opening an account with PrimeXBT as a member of the Trading Academy, which gives you a lot of nice perks. You'll find a link to our current promo code called The Room, where you get 50% off trading fees. You'll find a link to our Discord server, Twitter, our email address, everything you need to become a student of the Trading Academy. Reach out to me anytime. I'm I'm very glad if I can help you to not fall into those, pits that are lingering out there for beginner traders, which obviously lead to a lot of frustration. All good. Have a good night, everybody. Going to see you again latest next week, or you can also hear from me, of course, on the Discord server. Until then, stay safe out there and have a good one. And remember